Tune in for some happiness. Tune in for some fun. Tune in late at night or tune in the sun. This is TFM. Get ready to rock. From AM to PM. Come on. Let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's talk.
Live on TFM and the TFM Facebook page. This is the live feed of TTV. Let's talk.
Hello and welcome to the Midday Update. These are the top headlines from our news desk today. New plan to protect worker rights in Oman has been discussed in the Sultanate. Supreme Committee announces opening of restaurants, gyms. Shura Council moots labour law changes in the Sultanate. Oman has ranked 6th among Arab countries for the most powerful passport. Muscat ranked 4th among Arab cities in Global Attractive Cities Index. Outside Oman for more than 6 months, here's what you need to know about your residency. Air passengers advised to wear face masks by IATA. Life in China back to normal, according to US reports. TikTok files law against Trump administrative's executive order. Lebanese just arrest 3 additional suspects over Beirut's blast. These were the top headlines from our news desk. Let's see how the weather in the Sultanate looks like today.
I'm Antra Bose with your daily dose of weather. On my left is the TFM studio in Al Quair. We've got pretty clear skies here. Now, before we discuss about the temperatures, let me give you a quick tip. If you're one of those who spend a lot of time in and out of your car, make sure you carry a glass bottle and not a plastic one. When it gets really hot, plastic can release toxins into the water, which, when you drink, can end up in your bloodstream. With that, let's go inside the studio and we'll talk a little bit more about weather. Oman Meteorology and Public Authority for Civil Aviation have not dropped the alert yet, which means seas will continue to be rough over the Arabian Sea coast, which will be accompanied by a reduction in horizontal visibility during thundershower and fog. Waves can reach up to a height of 4 meters in the Arabian Sea, and the relative humidity will be between 70 to 95%. Apart from this, we're expecting to see partly cloudy to cloudy skies along the Dhofar coastline and the possibility of a slight drizzle. With that, let's take a look at what the temperature looks like in the other parts of the governorate.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. Now, before we go to our local news from the news desk today, let's see how the COVID situation in the country stands off today. The Ministry of Health today announced the registration of 4 new coronavirus deaths in the country. The death toll has now touched 646 in Oman due to the virus so far, the officials at the ministry informed. They also extended their deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. Officials at the Ministry of Health also announced the registration of 166 new coronavirus cases in the country today. This has brought the total number of coronavirus cases registered in the Sultanate to 84,818. According to the Ministry of Health, this number also includes the recovery of 79,409 patients and 646 deaths. The ministry urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not going out unnecessary. Now, proper compensation for workers who have been terminated due to the ongoing pandemic increased by coronavirus, flexible working conditions and days off for pregnant mothers employed in Oman are among the new changes being proposed in Oman's labor law. These amendments to help Omani workers were suggested by the Majlis Ashura, whose Youth and Human Resources Committee said changes needed to be made due to the pandemic, the low oil prices, and the resultant impact on workers in the Sultanate. Yunus bin Ali al-Mandhari, the head of the committee, said, "There have been many problems between workers and employees, with lots of instances of layoffs, termination of services, and unfair dismissals. We have discussed this problem with the relevant authorities to provide solutions, and in the last month we submitted this report to the Majlis Ashura, who provided its approval and will send it with the required recommendations to the Council of Ministers." In 2014, a draft of the new labor law was submitted to the Council of Ministers, which saw the participation of 3 parties in its creation: the Ministry of Manpower, the workers, and companies. When we studied the Omani labor law, we found there is a legislative vacuum in the current labor law with concern to laws regarding worker termination, as the articles of this law do not solve the problems of those who have been laid off or have had their services terminated, Al-Mandhari explained. He also continued saying that there is presently no real solution, and for this reason, we hope that the changes we propose will enable 3 parties, the workers, the company, and the ministry, to meet and discuss real solutions by amending articles to the current labor law or add new sections that the law requires. Oman's current labor law was issued in 2003, but the market has since experienced major shifts, which led to individuals and groups of workers facing problems with their employers, with the law unable to keep pace with the current labor situation. Explaining the sections that need attention so as to provide proper workplace compensation and benefits to employees in the country, Al-Mandhari said that this would impact large numbers of people. These will include articles the law needs in case workers are laid or terminated off, and will include rights to special leaves for mothers and pregnant women in the private sector in a manner similar to the government sector, if not the same benefits as received by public sector employees. Adding to this, Sultan Humaid Al-Husni, a Majlis Shura member of the Vilayat of Khabura in North Al-Batina Governorate and a member of the committee, said, "The COVID-19 pandemic and low oil prices provide the biggest reasons for the need to review the labor law, as this has led to many consequences that have affected companies and workers alike. This has led to the laying off workers, their services being cancelled, and unfair dismissal. Consequently, it became necessary to urgently reorganize and revise this law by changing or adding other sections to cope with the current changes in the market, to ensure private sector workers' rights and privileges are the same as those of public sector employees." Al-Mandhari added that the Majlis Ashura had requested in previous sessions that the draft of the new labor law that was proposed in 2014 be passed into law, but a result on this is still awaited. Yesterday, on Tuesday, August 25th, the Supreme Committee, who's dealing with COVID-19 situation across the country, has announced the opening of restaurants and cafes, barbershops, beauty parlors, conference rooms in hotels, gyms, camel race venues, laser treatment centers, water sport facilities, wedding rental services, and traditional clinics. In addition to that, and in order to limit the spread of COVID-19 and take precautionary measures against the virus, the Muscat municipality has decided that people older than 60 and under 12 are not allowed to enter restaurants and barbershops. Wearing masks before entering any facility is necessary, with the exception of partial removal of the mask when receiving services related to facial beautification. Workers should use a face shield for services that require direct contact with the customer, the municipality has said. Within the list of precautionary measures, the establishment should not receive clients who have symptoms, dealing with banknotes should be reduced, and shops should attempt to rely on electronic payment. All newspapers and shops should be discarded, and printed price lists must be used one time only, the municipality added. They also continued saying that maintain a distance of 2 meters and as little as possible from exchanging conversations with others when receiving the service, and refrain from providing hospitality to customers. The establishment must also check the temperature of the workers daily before starting work and after every 8 working hours. The establishment must operate on time and not let people wait in the waiting area. Timely sterilization process also must be carried, Muscat municipality said. To help Oman's economy remain stable during the uncertain times brought due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Majlis Ash-Shura has proposed changes to the labor law that will benefit workers in the country. The changes were suggested after a team from the Shura Council's Youth and Human Resources Committee studied the labor law, which has since received approval from the Majlis. After the existing labor law that was issued in 2003, the market experienced major shifts, which led to individual and group of workers facing problems with their employers, with the law unable to keep pace with the current labor situation. The vision of the Youth and Human Resources Committee was drafted into suggestions owing to the need to review the law in line with the developments taking place, especially in light of the coming industrial revolutions based on Article 58, Section 36 of the Basic Law of the State and Article 128 of the Shura Council's internal regulations. This came during the meeting of the team formed to study the proposal for the first periodic amendment during the first annual session, which was 2019-2020, under the chairmanship of Yunus bin Ali Al-Mandhari, chairman of the committee, and in the presence of team members. The team also put forward during its meeting many justifications that call for proposing these draft amendments, the most important of which is the weakness of keeping pace with the current law with policies and major shifts in the labor market, and the emergence of some legal loopholes in it that led to several problems in the labor market, such as the emergence of the phenomena of layoffs and unfair dismissal of workers in the private sector, as well as harm to their labor rights. It was also realized that the current law does not provide full protection and job security for workers in the private sector, and it does not provide an attractive environment for work in the private sector, especially in light of the increasing number of job seekers. The Youth and Human Resources Committee of the Council, represented by the team assigned to study the proposal, seeks to improve and regulate the Omani labor law market and its impact on the private sector, protect the rights of workers employed in the sector, and maintain the stability of the work relationship between all the parties involved, in addition to creating an attractive environment for Omani youth to work. Great news coming your way from the globe. It is which the Sultanate has received, actually has ranked 6th among Arab countries to have the most powerful passport in the world in 2020, according to the report published by international investment firm Artan Capital. A statement issued online by the Oman News Agency said the Sultanate has been ranked 6th among Arab countries in the index of the most powerful passport in the world for 2020, according to the report published by the international consulting firm Artan Capital. The ranking depends on the extent of freedom of movement and indicates the number of countries that a citizen can travel to without the need to obtain a visa or with the option to receive it upon approval. Moving on, the city of Muscat actually got 4th place among Arab cities in the global index for most attractive cities, according to AIR Inc., the US international consultancy firm. According to the consultancy firm, that rates 150 international cities according to financial benefits and style of life for workers therein. Muscat ranked 61st globally. The rating combines levels of local wages, tax rates, the cost of living, and conditions of life as standards to assess the attractiveness of each city. The topmost ranker was Zurich, Switzerland, followed by Geneva and Luxembourg. Muscat took 18th place in the subsidiary index of financial attractiveness and 85th place globally in the lifestyle index. Now, expats living outside the Sultanate for more than 6 months will have to obtain an exemption certificate from the ROP to enter Oman again, a senior official of the Royal Oman Police has informed. The Royal Oman Police recently published an announcement of the conditions for requesting an exemption of the 180-day period from the departure of the employee or worker outside the Sultanate. The following papers are required. Number 1, a letter addressed to the Director of Administrative and Financial Affairs at the General Administration of Passport and Residence requesting the return of the employee or worker to the Sultanate. The visa must be valid. Number 2, a copy of the passport or ID card of the employee or worker. Number 3, a copy of the commercial registration papers. Number 4, a copy of the authorized signatory in the company. And lastly, attaching a return ticket with a period of 14 days from the date of issuance of the certificate. An official from the Royal Oman Police spoke exclusively to Times of Oman, saying that according to normal procedures, the residency of expat worker ends as a result of the foreigners remaining outside the Sultanate for a period of more than 180 days. But due to COVID-19 and the inability of foreigners to return to the Sultanate within the time frame, employers may apply for an exemption certificate from the 180-day system. The International Air Transport Association, known as IATA, has called upon travelers to wear face masks while traveling. IATA said in a statement that we appeal to all travelers to wear face mask covering on the journey for the safety of passengers and crew during COVID-19. Alexander, the Director General and CEO of IATA, said this is a call for common sense and taking responsibility. Now, the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs, known as MIRA, has launched master program for training and e-learning. A statement issued online by the Oman News Agency said the Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs launches the Masr program for training and e-learning that comes within the plans and regulations that aim to develop the capabilities of employees and develop their skills by providing specialized and general electronic courses remotely, as well as investing in the field of distance education for the programs implemented by the ministry. We also have Gautam Vishwanathan joining us from Times of Oman editorial team to share the updates from his side. Thank you, Gautam, for joining us. Could you please share some updates from your side as well with our viewers?
Yes, Madiha, thank you so much for having us on. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon to all of your viewers tuning in on Times TV and on other platforms. Staying with the ministries, Madiha, we do indeed have some news about the Ministry of Education, because the new Minister of Education has indeed praised the initiative of Tariq, who has decided to give laptops to needy students who are going to universities and colleges in Oman. A statement was issued from the Royal Office recently in which it said that His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq has issued directives to provide new students belonging to the social security and low-income families who have joined higher education institutions in the forthcoming academic year, that's 2020-2021. This generous royal gesture reflects His Majesty's keenness to enhance the ability of students in the fields of information and communications, technology, and help them keep abreast of modern online education. Now, this move, Madiha, has been welcomed by more than one minister. Of course, it was welcomed by Her Excellency Laila bint Ahmed bin Awad al-Najjar. She is the new Minister of Social Development, and she praised the kind gesture of His Majesty the Sultan because, of course, her directive is to look after the impoverished or rather needy families in the Sultanate, and to have, this sort of gesture from His Majesty Sultan is indeed a move in the right direction. Schools and colleges and universities in Oman are expected to open after the 1st of November. It would be great for these students to get the helping hand that has been provided to them. They can then continue with their education unabated. It, of course, has seen lots of setbacks because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, the reopening of universities and colleges is also the directorate of the Minister of Education. And Dr. Rahma bint Rahim Al-Said Al-Maharukiya has indeed said that this is a great move from His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. She praised the royal directives of His Majesty on the supply of laptops all students under the social security families and families with limited incomes. And she has indeed said that this royal gesture came within the initiatives of His Majesty Sultan to care at online education in the country. It is, of course, a great initiative being launched by His Majesty the Sultan for needy students. And of course, staying with stories in Oman, the Majlis Al-Shura has decided to look at sea tariffs being levied in some of the wilayats after they received complaints that some of the costs being levied were indeed a little too high. This has come from the Services and Social Development Committee of the Majlis, which said so at a meeting panel on Thursday. And to continue with this story, A statement issued by the Labour Ministry has also said that Omanization in the country will have to now be centralized. It was earlier so that companies could have their own Omanization plans, but the Ministry said that all of these Omanization plans will come under one single umbrella. A statement issued by the Labour Ministry said, and I quote, to the Royal Decree number 89/2020 establishing the Ministry of Labour and approving its organizational structure, this ministry wishes to remind all private sector institutions and establishments to follow the necessary procedures regarding submitting Omanization plans and vacant job opportunities through the ministry's websites and to not publish any advertisements related to opportunities and must follow all procedures for this ministry. So there is quite a lot of development coming in on the local level here from the newsroom. That's all we have for you, Madiha. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Gautam, for updating us from your end. It's time for us to take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more latest updates coming your way from our international desk.
Oman's largest online supermarket now has no minimum order limit. From grocery to household items, Rafiq has everything that you want. Enjoy worry-free shopping with over 8,000 products to choose from and get it delivered straight to your doorstep. Rafiq, you order, we deliver.
Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. Let's go to the international desk and see what we have in there. Life in many parts of China has come back to normal, according to the US media that has recently reported this. In Wuhan, where the coronavirus emerged 8 months ago, water parks and night markets are packed elbow to elbow, buzzing like before, said an article published by the New York Times on Sunday. China's factories are humming again and its economy has returned to growth. The article admitted that this is a stark turnabout from the early days of the pandemic, when China was the first to experience the COVID-19 pandemic in the world. In Wuhan, several months ago, the streets were all but deserted, except for government vehicles and delivery drivers ferrying food and supplies. Hospitals were overrun with patients. When the disease was discovered and confirmed in Wuhan for the first time, cities across China introduced strict lockdown, quarantine, and compulsory wearing masks against the virus spread. No new locally transmitted COVID-19 cases were reported on Monday across the Chinese mainland, the National Health Commission said on Tuesday. Now, video sharing social networking company known as TikTok on Monday filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over an executive order banning any U.S. transaction with its parent company, ByteDance. In the 39-page indictment acquired by Xinhua, U.S. President Donald Trump, Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, and U.S. Department of Commerce were listed as defendants. According to the document, TikTok accused the U.S. authorities of stripping the rights of the company without any evidence to justify the extreme action and issuing the order without any due process as guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles-based tech firm argued that the executive order is a misuse of International Emergency Economic Power Act, known as IEEPA, authorizing the prohibition of activities that have not been found to be an unusual and extraordinary threat in this case. The executive order was issued for political reasons rather than because of an unusual and extraordinary threat to the United States, which is a condition for the president to exercise his authority under the IEEPA, TikTok noted. The plaintiffs, TikTok Incorporation and ByteDance Limited, seek a declaratory judgment and order invalidating and enjoining the executive order and in any implementing regulations issued by the Department of Commerce later. The document read that the president's executive order is unconstitutional and ultra-vires and must be enjoined. Starting in June 2020, sporting events held in Italy will be back on the track, have tried to walk the delicate line between ensuring the safety of those involved and making events appear as normal as possible. June was when the country's Serie A football season, which had been halted in March when COVID-19 first started to spread in Italy, restarted, albeit with strict health protocols enforced, including prohibiting fans in the stands. The season is complete with the next Serie A campaign set to begin on September 19, 2020. But a growing number of infections, so far teams from Cagliari, Rome, Naples and Turin have reported cases among their number, may cast doubt upon the start date of the 2020-2021 season. We are worried we can deny that, Gianni Nenni, the main representative for Serie A team doctors, told reporters recently. If the number of cases increases further, the postponement of the start of the championship would become a very concrete possibility. The financial impact of the stop-start season is hard to calculate, though there are some signals of the size of the financial impact. According to data from Statista, the combined stock value for the 20 Serie A teams declined by nearly 800 million euros, which is about $960 million. Between April 1st and August 15, covering the bulk of the COVID-19 crisis. A single team, Juventus, saw its value drop by 140 million euros, which is about $165 million over the same span. Inter Milan, owned by China's Suning Holdings, saw its value drop by 113 million euros, which amounts to $155 million. The Gazzetta dello Sport newspaper estimated earlier this month that the league's main revenue streams could be cut in half for this season. If true, that would be a significant amount, according to the 2020 annual review of football finance from consulting firm Deloitte, released in June. Serie A earned a total of 2.1 billion euros, which is about $2.5 billion last season, with around 60% from broadcasting rights, 30% from sponsorships and commercial revenue, and 10% from ticket sales. Italy's other major sports, ranging from professional cycling and Formula One motor racing to tennis and basketball, are on a similar tightrope. The Giro d'Italia bicycle race, one of the world's 3 main multi-week road bike races, normally takes place in spring or early summer, when it sets the stage for the Tour de France and the Volta di Spagna. But this year, because of the pandemic, the 103rd edition of the race, originally scheduled to take place from May 9 to 31st, has been pushed back to October 3rd to 25th, 2020, with the 3,500-kilometer course recalibrated to avoid high mountain peaks that could be snow-covered in October. As of August 2020, plans are to move forward with the race on the new schedule, but it is unclear whether organizers will allow fans to line the course as normal and are waiting to see the development of the pandemic before making that call. A decision is expected by mid-September, though. Formula One's Italian Grand Prix will take place in the northern city of Monza on September 6, and organizers have already decided it will take place without fans in the stands. But in an unusual move, organizers will allow fans to pay 40 euros, which is about $47, to have their image printed up to appear in the stands, visible on television coverage of the race. Money raised from this initiative will be donated to COVID-19 research programs in Monza, Milan and Rome. Like the Giro d'Italia, the Italian Open, Italy's premier tennis event was pushed back from its original home on the calendar in May. This year, the clay court event will start on September 14, 4 months later than normal. It is filling the dates originally scheduled for Spain's Madrid Open, which was cancelled because of the outbreak in the country. Organizers of the Italian event said that they are taking every precaution possible to make sure the tournament can take place, including eliminating crowds and applying social distancing rules in the clubhouse. Last year's event raised around 11.5 million euros, which accounts to $13.7 million in ticket sales only, according to the Deloitte report, a category that will produce no revenue this year. In an optimistic gesture, organizers of the Italian Open already announced the 2021 tournament will start on May 9th, its traditional slot on the calendar, assuming the pandemic is no longer a threat by that point. Italy's top professional basketball league concluded its 2019-2020 season in February 2020, just before the pandemic forced a national lockdown. The 2020-21 season is set to get underway on September 27th, more or less on schedule. But organizers said that they are keeping close track of the spread of the outbreak in Italy and could delay the start and compress the season if needed. Now going to Lebanon, Lebanese judicial authorities arrested on Tuesday 3 additional suspects over the explosions of Beirut's port, making the total number of arrested people over this case 12, the national agency News has reported. Earlier this month, 3 senior officials at Port Beirut were arrested, including General Director of Customs Badri Dahir, former Customs Director Shafiq Marhi, and Director General of Beirut Port Hassan Koreitem. 2 huge explosions rocked Port of Beirut on August 4, 2020, shaking buildings all over Lebanon's capital and killing over 177 people and wounding 6,000. Damage was estimated by Beirut's governor to be valued at over $10 billion. These were the top stories from both our local and international desk your way. We'll be back again tomorrow with more latest updates, so stay tuned and keep watching TTV.
You've just heard the live feed from the TTV studios on TFM 95.